We'll show them. We will show them all.
Arcane is one of the best animated shows ever, and Pretend Like It's the First Time is Arcane's best episode. Here's why. Writing is really freaking difficult. You know this if you've written anything longer than the special instructions on a DoorDash order.
I'll take a...
And writing is difficult because there are so many things that you have to juggle. Plotting, world building, characterization, action, and Arcane does all of these things wonderfully. But the real secret sauce to Arcane is its use of repetition.
Wait!
You're too late, Ekko.
Wait! Always a dance with you.
For those who are still getting their toes wet, repetition in storytelling is closely aligned with theme. Storytelling is art, and art is communicative. And so one of the most important things about stories is what they consistently say to their audience. And you as a writer don't have to say one thing. Arcane certainly doesn't. There are messages on love, on sacrifice, on forgiveness and redemption, but Arcane Season 1's most repeated and powerful theme revolved around duality and parallelism. I actually talked about this in my previous Arcane video, you can check that out if you want to. But what makes Season 2 Episode 7 phenomenal is that it repeats the feelings from Season 1. Half of the episode is basically spent in a nostalgic bath. You know how Heimerdinger says he's been there for pretty much 1,000 days?
How long have you been here?
1,128 days, 6 hours, and 20 minutes.
Well, that's how long it's been since the first season released. It's the same experience for us watching as it is for the characters in the fiction. Sure, it's still serious and there's mature content to engage with, certainly, but it's undeniable that this episode is a feel-good section of the narrative that takes us back in time to the levity of Season 1. It's the same characters, some of which are our favorites, some of whom we've lost. And to have them back, if even for a moment, feels so good. The beauty of Episode 7 is the beauty of it taking us back to the quiet before the conflict. That's really how it's a time machine. Arcane is a heavy show. It's been a heavy show for a long time now, but there was a time where it was more light, where it grabbed us like animation so often does, where it enthralled us enough for us to accept how harsh it would become. And it's because of that harshness and seeing how bad things became that what we are looking at now seems so sweet. It's the same characters, but it's seeing that there was so much better to be had. We see them happy, and we like that. This section takes the theme of Season 1 and parallels itself as an episode against the rest of Season 2. It's slower, it's lower stakes. In fact, the only stakes are those that Ekko brings into it himself. If he wanted to stay forever, he could. And that is a stark difference between everything else that we've seen this season. It is a reprieve from the dark, dense nature of the show. However, that nature is not ignored or forgotten in that episode, and that's because of Jace. The episode goes a level deeper and parallels itself with itself. Half of the episode is Ekko, yes, but half of the episode is Jace. He reminds us what we're really watching. He snaps us back from our nostalgic dream world into the seriousness of what's really at stake. And because we know Jace comes back, we're so interested in seeing how he gets to the point of killing his friend. Season 2 expands upon the duality theme of Season 1 by repeating it every chance it gets, in both big...
You must learn to be both the fox and the wolf.
You are the wolf.
and small ways.
She looks so badass.
Everything is framed around two sides of the same coin, and all the differences that might exist there, but also all the unity that really binds them together. It's Zahn and Piltover. It's Caitlyn and Vi, and Vander and Silco. It's Warwick and Victor. But specifically in Season 2, Episode 7, we get maybe our best repetition of this duality in Ekko and Jace. We get them juxtaposed, placed side by side to see their differences, but also their similarities, which is duality manifest. Both of them got sent into an alternate timeline, but Ekko's is filled with all the people that he loves, while Jace is completely alone. Ekko sees all that could have been if Hextech weren't invented, while Jace sees the consequences of how Hextech, his dream, will progress. And both of them were searching for a way to get back to their original timeline, except Ekko struggled with giving up his heaven.
You ever wish you could just stay in one moment?
While Jace struggled through surviving his hell.
And I betrayed him. Corrupts. Consumes.
Jace.
Both Jace and Ekko are seen as geniuses of their communities.
The only one actually worth my time is him.
The golden boy.
Oh, look who it is! The boy savior!
Though how that genius affected their lives is very different. Jace was from Piltover, the top side, and his genius had light to shine on it, so he became rich and famous and surrounded by adoration. Ekko was in Zahn, the Undercity, and he struggled for everything and lost almost just as much.
This is everyone we've lost.
For both of these men, their stories greatly centered on these differing circumstances and lifestyles. So it only stands to reason that in a well-written fiction, the characters' conflicts are based in what is most difficult for that character to deal with. For Ekko, that's having everything he ever wanted and giving it up.
I used to dream the Undercity could be like this, but somewhere I got consumed by all the ways it wasn't.
Sometimes taking a leap forward
Means leaving a few things behind.
For Jace, that seeing everything he ever wanted was worth nothing.
The end of Piltover. Because of Hextech.
And these thematic parallels would have been strong enough just in episode 7 alone, but the beauty of how Arcane handles its duality theme in the third act especially is that it transcends time. That's the entire point.
I'm always with you, even when we're worlds apart.
The human brain is amazing at picking up patterns, even subconsciously. When something aligns with what we've seen before, we instill that in ourselves, even if we don't recognize it. You know how when you see a scene like this,
Am I interrupting?
it might tickle something in your brain. Well, that's because we have seen a scene like this before.
Am I interrupting?
The truly fantastic thing about themes, at least well-executed themes, is that they are not explained, they are felt and discovered. Through a story confidently representing its core message over and over and over again, we get an ever clearer sense of what the story is trying to tell us about the conflict, about its characters, about ourselves.
No matter what happened in the past, it's never too late to build something new.
So many of Arcane's characters are trapped in the past because of those they have lost, so it's no wonder we get a literal representation of that with Ekko going back in time to visit all that he's lost. Arcane is about looking backwards to where we have been to understand where we are going. And when we discover these aspects of a story on our own, that story becomes ours, and the interpretation we take away from it informs us of how we are writing our own life story.
If you come, help use all that explosive potential of yours for good, maybe we could rewrite your story like you did with Zahn.
Arcane Act 3 takes us back in time, not just through the literalization of having Jace and Ekko go back in time, but by constantly repeating the elements of its own past.
Last time Vander needed us, we tried it alone, and nothing was ever the same. He's your father, too.
He's your dad, too.
This type of circular storytelling can only be understood by revisiting the things we've seen before with the context of how they now affect the present and future. It's about seeing sides of people that we never knew were there. Ekko was ready to kill Jinx before, but now he's ready to kiss her. And it's about appreciating a 9-year-old League of Legends voice line that explains so much.
I had a crush until you started talking to the gun.
Arcane Act 3 exists in a bit of a timeless space. It's the ending to its own story, of course, but the beginning to so many other possible stories. We're going to be looking back at Arcane for years, seeing how the seeds of future narratives were set up in ways that we didn't even know. And I think that's kind of beautiful, because I think if there is one message that Arcane has, is that you never know what's ahead of you.
One day, I'm gonna ride in one of those things.
And one day, I'm gonna shoot one of them down.
Thanks for watching all the way until the end. If you like what you heard, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you really want to be a homie, check out Patreon or my second channel. There's loads of new content on there. Also check out my website if you want editing services or to read my books. As always, it was a pleasure, and I'll talk to you all again soon.